This program is brought to you by realestate.com.au, Australia's #1 address in property. With more properties for sale than anywhere else, we make it easier.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at the auctions this weekend, and there's about 3,500. Starting with Sydney, there'll be about 1,000 auctions with another 215 around New South Wales. Melbourne has the most auctions with almost 1,500 and another 73 around regional Victoria. In Brisbane, about 200 properties will go under the hammer, another 162 going to auction around the state. In South Australia, Adelaide will have 179 auctions, another 12 across the state there. And lastly, in Canberra, there'll be 128 auctions this weekend. Moving on to the most viewed properties going to auction this weekend, 6C Huntley Street, Moonee Ponds tops the list. This Melbourne property has 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 2 car spaces and a half-size basketball court out the back. Its price guide's $1.4 to $1.5 million. Next on the list is 37 Murphy Street, Brighton, also in Melbourne. Price guide between $3 and $3.3 million. 60 Greenridge Court, Windvale, that comes in third. That's in northeast Adelaide, South Australia. Price guide of about $500,000. New South Wales is in fourth place with 22 Merrilong Street, Castle Hill, Sydney. Price guide of about $1.45 million. And lastly, we have 173 Young Street in the Adelaide suburb of Parkside, finishing off the list. Well, this week's most viewed listing is a quaint cottage in the Adelaide suburb of Norwood. The house is at 30 Edmund Street. It has 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. It's a short walk from Adelaide's East End. Set on 179 square metres, the workers' cottage was built around 1910. The backyard's north-facing, catching that sunlight. Property features Jarrah floors, a high ceiling, ornate fireplaces and a hallway arch. It also features a second-level loft, which is currently set up as the 3rd bedroom, but it could also be turned into a home office. Price guide is $650,000, and it's going to auction next weekend. Let's bring in REA Group economist Angus Moore to talk auctions, but also the new PropTrack Home Price Index. Angus, thanks for your time today. So how does this new PropTrack Index actually work?
Thanks for having me. We're really excited. So this week saw the inaugural launch of our PropTrack Home Price Index. So this index is designed to track the value of a typical Australian property. So what we've seen that this month property prices grew about 0.3% across the nation on average, and that brings them 18% higher than they were at the same time last year. Now it's fair to say we're seeing growth slow, so that 0.3% is the slowest monthly growth we've seen since May 2020. And that's not necessarily surprising. 2021 was an extremely quick year for property price growth. It was the 3rd fastest in 140 years, which I think is fair to say it's as long as we have records. So it's not surprising that we've slowed from there. But we're still seeing prices grow, and I think that's good news for many sellers looking to sell this weekend.
Yeah, we got some of the charts we can put up on the screen for viewers to take a look at. But so property prices are starting to slow, but they are still at very high levels, right?
Yes, that's right. So we are still seeing price growth. Prices in March were higher than they were in February, and prices do remain very high. We saw price growth of 23% in 2021, so certainly much, much higher than they were pre-pandemic. If we look around the country, we're seeing places like Adelaide is kind of the star performer this month among the capital cities. We're also seeing Brisbane, prices are growing there more quickly than they are in Sydney or Melbourne. Regional areas, we're seeing faster growth there than we are in capital cities, which has really been the theme for much of the pandemic. We've seen a lot of demand for regional property, and that's driven prices in regional areas up much quicker than in capital cities. Continuation of trends, but around the country we are seeing slower growth at the moment than we were at the same time last year.
Okay, let's talk auctions this weekend, about 3,500 across the country. It seems like there's still a lot of vendors keen to sell right now.
Yeah, absolutely. We're headed into a couple busy seasonal weekends before we get to the April long weekends. So, we'll see a lot of activity over this weekend and next weekend as vendors look to wrap up their campaigns before people go away for holidays and, looking ahead before we head into the sort of typically quieter winter season. If we look over the couple weeks that have just been, it has been pretty busy. We have seen quite a quick pace of sales. That said, it's not as busy as we were seeing in February, and it's not as busy as we were seeing at the same time in 2021. Now, again, that's not necessarily surprising. Those were very busy periods. So for activity to have slowed, it's not surprising. So I think we'd say solid, but slower than we have been seeing.
This week was obviously the federal budget, and the government extended the first home buyer guarantee, where first home buyers can purchase a property with deposit of about 5% or 2%. What impact do you think this is going to have on property sales over the next few months?
Yeah, absolutely. So this week was the federal budget, always fun for economic nerds like myself. I even got to go to lockup this year, which was a lot of fun, for a certain type of fun, I suppose. Certainly the key housing policy we saw come out of the budget was the expansion of the home guarantee scheme, which lets you borrow with a 5% deposit or a 2% deposit if you're a single parent. In terms of the impact of this policy on prices and on the broader market, I don't think it's going to be huge, and there's sort of two reasons for that. One is it's only available to first home buyers. First home buyers are not the majority of the market. We had ABS credit data out today. Based on that, first home buyers are something like 1/6 of the market. So, we're already talking about a relatively small part of the market. Second, the policy is not available to every first home buyer. So there's 35,000 places under the new scheme, and that's up from 10,000 under the old scheme. Now, last year, we saw more than 160,000 first home buyers. So it's fair to say 35,000, something like 1 in 5 compared to last year, or, compared to the year before, 1 in 4 first home buyers. So we're not talking about a big cohort of newly empowered buyers. So I don't think we're going to see massive impacts on price. The other thing that I would say is the scheme is capped in terms of how expensive the property that you buy can be in order to be eligible for the scheme. And those caps are quite binding. I did some analysis on this week, and I'll put in a plug here for realestate.com.au/insights if you want to read more of that analysis. But what it means is you can't buy, even in most cities, a median price dwelling. We're talking below median price. In Sydney, it's 800,000. In Canberra, it's 500,000. So we're well below median price, which means we're not going to see big impacts on the sort of upper end of the market.
Well, Angus Moore from REA Group, thanks so much for your time this afternoon.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me, Ed.